Hello and welcome to In the Court of the Wenton King. Today we are reviewing...
In Through the Outdoor.
In Through the Outdoor, this album here. That one. Yes. Is it good?
Do we want to say that at the beginning? There are events going on around Led Zeppelin at this time.
Yes.
That you need to understand.
Yeah. So, Presence was recorded in '76, very good. Page managed to complete the album in 2 weeks, which is an astonishing feat. As far as he's concerned, he did that by taking heroin. And if you took that on its own, you'd think, well,
Drugs are good.
drugs are good, except they're not. And after this moment, Page was never the same, sadly. So he was addicted to heroin, dodgy live performances on the '77 tour, and then mid-'77 tour, Plant's son passed away. So in 1978 they reconvened, not at their best. So with Plant not really wanting to be there, with Page addicted to heroin, John Bonham was now a serious, proper alcoholic. And John Paul Jones wasn't really sure whether he wanted to be doing it at all. So that's the situation they were in in 1978 when they came to make this album. And it should be treated as in that context.
They were living as tax exiles at this time, weren't they?
Yeah.
This is where the title comes from.
Yeah, recorded in ABBA's studio in Sweden.
And they're feeling a little bit estranged.
Yeah.
Like living abroad and away from the family and stuff like that. You say Robert Plant wasn't interested, or was a little bit...
Well, at one point he wasn't coming back, and at the time of recording this, he wasn't interested in touring.
And this album was actually driven by Robert Plant and John Paul Jones.
Basically, because Page and Bonham were so completely out of it, it is a Plant-Jones album, very much. And it features the only songs in the Led Zeppelin catalogue not co-written by Jimmy Page. 2 songs, the only songs.
So, what came out of this mess of mishmashing and stuff?
A mess of mishmashing and stuff. That's a good way of describing the album, really. A mess of mishmashing. It is considered their weakest album. I would agree.
Shall I tell you what I think of the album?
Yes.
This is really hard to say, considering up until this point we've said, you know, we may say this song's good, this song's bad, but we're talking in Led Zeppelin terms.
Yeah, so very high.
Yeah, a bad Led Zeppelin song is a pretty good song still.
Yeah.
This, forget that. This is a collection of 2-star songs.
Yeah.
I don't understand, because John Paul Jones says his motivation was he just got a new bit of kit or something like that.
Keyboard, yeah.
And he wanted to go into the studio and mess around with it.
Yeah. That's not a reason to make an album.
It's not a reason to make that. And how come? Like, he's a multi-millionaire, super successul
rockstar, yeah.
And he's suddenly got this new bit of keyboard. He must have like 300 new keyboards a week if he wanted to.
Yeah, I don't know. It must be a proper 80s keyboard. Some of the stuff on there sounds like a Moog, traditional Moog, but some of it doesn't. Some of it sounds like proper strings, and maybe it was a sampler and all that stuff.
It's just, yeah. And in the evening, song number 1, it's got this intro in it, which is obviously a bit of messing around and fun, and you think,
yeah,
this isn't bad.
It's a really good intro. I mean, it's a great intro. Yeah. There's some great bit of drumming, very low in the mix, and it is violin bow stuff and keyboards on top of that. Supposedly, something similar was already played in the middle of Days Confused.
Right.
A couple of times. It sounded exactly the same, so it was something that had been written before. But yeah, fantastic intro. And then the song starts. I think, well, to be positive about it, it gets there's a good combination of epic and sort of lolloping giant rock song. It's okay.
Is it?
It's all right. It's not, but what standard do you hold it to? If you heard a band in a pub playing that, you'd think, oh, that was good. Goodness me.
Yeah, but a pub band.
Exactly, yeah.
You know, how many of these albums did they sell?
It was massively successful.
Yeah.
10 million. Yeah, or punk was happening and they weren't popular anymore. That's complete nonsense.
I couldn't go so far as to say it was a good song. You know, I mean, I must have a pretty short attention span or something like that. But I zone out very, very quickly as soon as the actual song, as soon as the intro's over. I think maybe it is a good song, but maybe the intro's so good that the contrast between the intro and the song is such that it can only be disappointing.
Yeah. The guitar solo, such that Page was at the time, druggy, messy guitar solo, suits the song as well. And there's one bit, it sounds like he sort of dropped the guitar, it just goes it's a clever bit of mixing as well, so it comes out in the mix, and that sounds quite good. So for that song it works. Song number 2, Southbound Soiree. John Bonham has no writing credit on this album. Page has no writing credit on this song for the first time ever. If this was a Plant solo song, you would think, yes, that's a Plant solo song. That's pretty much all you can say about it, isn't it?
Yeah.
Nice bit of piano. God awful guitar solo. Absolute crap.
It's at this point you start to have real doubts about the whole enterprise.
Yeah. Song number 3, Fool in the Rain. Now I think this is one of the most successful points on the album, but it is very controversial. A bit like the grunge and Jamaica as well, in that stylistically it's not where you would expect Led Zeppelin to be going, but it does work in itself. It is a Latin tinged pop song. The vocals aren't demanding, so Plant sounds alright on it. To me, that doesn't even matter. I don't care about the song because the drumming is awesome. This is John Bonham's last grand statement. It is some fantastic Latino rhythmic stuff going on. Not just the breakdown in the middle where it goes crazy, but the verses as well. And for that reason, it's allowed. It gets through in its stylistically dodgy way. There is actually an outtake bootleg of just the drum tracks, which is great.
Cool. Which brings us on to track 4.
Okay, this is the band who are known for appropriating American music and turning it into something amazing, like When the Levee Breaks, hats off to Roy Harper, Whole Lot of Love, and Bring It On Home, and they also, this is the band that have given us other stuff as well, like the modal sophistication of Kashmir and the structure of Achilles' Last Stand, the mood of No Quarter. And this band give us this joke. It's a joke, this song, Hot Dog. It is a pastiche comedy American style song. It's silly countrified Elvis impersonation vocals, dodgy guitar solo. It's ridiculous, really. They put it on the album, really. I could be great if they want to do it, but it was a single in America. So I don't know what they were on, to be honest. It's rubbish.
Well, we do know what they were on.
Well, we do know they were on heroin and weed and alcohol, which is a winning combination.
Yeah. Yeah, that pretty much sums it up, really.
Yeah.
Now, you would have thought, when you got to track 5...
Yeah. New side, turn the record over.
You see a nice, lengthy...
Epic.
Epic.
It is the epic.
And the one thing they do well are epics.
Yeah. Yeah. This is John Paul Jones. Well, it's his second epic, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
And obviously this is where he's dominating the album.
Yeah.
It's not without merit completely. It's very well structured. It has things wrong with it. I think the biggest problem with it, and I only realised this by listening to it again. Bear in mind, when we've done these videos, I haven't really listened to the albums because I know them so well, but I have listened to this one to give it a chance. But Plant's vocals are terrible on this song. He's not up to singing that kind of thing. He's up to singing Southbound Soiree and Fool in the Rain. He's not up to singing Carouselambra, big epic Led Zeppelin songs. His voice just wasn't there.
And it feels... Because there is so much sort of synthesizer work going on.
Yeah, it is a synth epic.
It feels quite dated. It feels very of although it's early, it feels very
80s.
very
Yeah,
80s.
I mean, you could argue Led Zeppelin aren't hugely influential, so maybe the 80s-ness we're hearing on there, that's influenced the 80s.
Yeah, because although it is 70s sort of guitar rock,
There's not much guitar in it, though, is it?
no, well, I mean Led Zeppelin.
Yeah.
The 70s guitar rock, it doesn't feel dated in the same way that, I don't know, it's the way Bach is supposedly timeless.
Yeah.
Because it's sort of like the pinnacle.
Yeah, it was the best of that.
It was the pinnacle of the Baroque period, yeah, and Bach was sort of like Baroque times 10. Led Zeppelin was sort of the pinnacle of
that.
40 odd years down the road now.
Yeah.
This doesn't feel like that.
It doesn't, no, it sounds like an album from 1978.
And Carouselambra is a pretty a strong example of that.
Yeah. I mean, obviously keyboard-based music was a 70s thing, and you had Yes and ELP and all that kind of stuff. But I think really the reason it sounds 80s and not like that is that it just isn't as good.
Yeah.
I think apart from the vocals, the other big problem I've got with it is the main theme. The main theme is the middle section is stronger. There's some cool bits. There's a sort of Indian tinge, which is really good. And there's a descending riff and a sort of epic strings bit, and all those bits are brilliant, I think. Then it goes down into the quiet bit, which is good, but very, very 80s sounding. So it's not so much the fault of the song; it's the fault of what we're hearing, what we're associating with Duran Duran or something.
Well, we've got different context to when this album came out.
Yeah.
Maybe when it, I mean, as you say, it sold a lot of albums. Maybe when that came out, because it was, they hadn't had the 80s yet.
Yeah.
Maybe it's saying quite innovative.
Yeah.
And that brings us on to number 6.
All My Love. This is a tricky one to review, really, because of the subject matter. This is a song written by a plan about his son who died, and for that reason, it's heavy. Page has expressed reservations about the song because of its balladiness, and it is a gentle ballad. I mean, particularly Page was complaining about the chorus being a sort of sing-along, people with their hands in the air.
Yeah.
And I can see that. It's not a power ballad though, and the fact that it's gentle makes it very un-Zepp. I mean, even like the Rain song. Rain song's more sort of romantic. This is sort of gentle and frail, and that's a unique thing in the catalogue. It does work, but I think it only really works because of the sort of the genuineness of the delivery of it. Means that it's not vile and saccharine.
Number 7.
I'm Gonna Crawl. Ending with the blues song. It's alright. It's okay. It's an okay blues song. Again, as with the rest of the album, I mean, the Presence ended with a blues song, but this is I'm Gonna Crawl doesn't stand up against something like T for One. This is more like a pastiche. It feels contrived. It doesn't feel so genuine as T for One. I think the vocals are pretty good on that. I'm Gonna Crawl. It's probably Plant's best effort on that album. But yeah, that's how it ended with that song. I'm Gonna Crawl.
And they didn't know it was going to end at that point.
No.
I mean, Page has said that him and Bonham had talked and that they had ideas for a driving...
Yeah, a proper rocker.
Yeah.
And they had recorded songs already for this rocker, which weren't included on the album, but more on that next time.
Dun, dun, dun.
So, that was In Through the Outdoor. Join us next week for Coda, the final moment.
There you go, this YouTube video can go out as proof that God exists.